Easy, how are we?
Johnny, I'm feeling a lot fresher than you are anyway. That's a
Uh,
fact.
I don't look fresh. I don't feel fresh. I'm pretty far from fresh right now. Head, legs, blood blisters on the feet. It's a struggle, but an unbelievable day. I know, like that's the whole review. Thank you for listening. Unbelievable day, Dublin Marathon. You should do it. I'll go back to bed.
I have no doubt Dublin Marathon did not fail to let everyone down, good, bad, or indifferent. It is an experience and it's a great day. I'm very jealous. I have to say, very few things make me miss home. One was when all you shite bags were seeing the Northern Lights there at home and I wasn't seeing it. And then two is Dublin Marathon weekend. I feel inadequate sitting here looking at so many great people's stories, so many of the guests or the people who follow us. I was just, yeah, I was a very miserable man. You see, I'm not gonna lie. I was a very miserable man. How was it? How was the
Ah,
day?
the weather and all was, and it was actually perfect conditions for the run. It was, I was late again, not late like the last time, but whatever way we drove in, we ended up driving down the N3, and it was almost the worst start ever to the marathon. Because we're coming down the N3, and we looked at the clock, it's around 10 past 8. My first wave's 35 minutes, and it's like getting through the town, getting through all the crowds and stuff. And all of a sudden, we look left and Neve jams on the brakes, and it's a Garda checkpoint, and I'm like, oh no. So three cars, there's one car in front of us, and the car behind us coming up, and the Garda steps out in the middle of the road, stops your man in front, and Neve just heard me in the room and message, you got up late. I was like, okay, that's my fault. We heard a bingo off there, just saw pop up the screen. But anyway, she's putting a lot on me. She's right to put a lot on me. Gotta close those doors. But anyway, he stopped the first car, looked the gun, and then waved him on. I'm like, oh no, he has us. Stopped me and Neve, and then looked at the thing, looked again, looked at it, and then what seemed like forever, but was only a second, just eventually waved us on, and the next car pulled into the side. I just look back in the mirror, see the car being pulled in. Like, I hope they're not doing a Dublin Marathon today because they're in for an awful start.
Oh
But
no.
we got into town anyway, and it's all different this year because of the different start times. It's on Lisa Street, so when you're all coming into the one baggage area, I forget the name of the road, whatever it was, they kind of closed off a third of each side. So it's literally a bottleneck just kind of concaving into this one little area going through. And there was a load of us. I wasn't the only one late. That was like waiting for wave one. There's like 20 minutes to go. And we're not even near security or checkpoint yet. I'm like, what is going on? But what I think happened was when you go in through that narrow gap and turn left is where all the baggage drops are. If they had just let everyone in, that road would have been, you would not have gotten through because everyone would have been queuing up to drop their bags down in the area. I think they were just trying to crowd control
Control the
and get,
flow, keep it moving.
yeah. Now, I could be totally wrong on this, but if I had
The
to
people
guess
in
on it,
Dublin City Marathon going, yes, Sean. That is
that's why we had it. But
exactly what we're doing.
this is like proper blacked out intention kind of thing. It is such a long walk from there to, because you're going all the way down to go around Marion Square, then back up where you'd normally start the race. And then it's another like half a kilometer to a kilometer before you get to the starting line. So like even it took me a good 20, 25 minutes to get from baggage area up around in towards the start. And then like, of course, before the start of a race, you always need to go to the toilet. So you see the first set of toilets and cubicles on either side, and it's like, oh, I'm not going to make them. I'll keep going because like 15 people back from it. It's like, I'll go to the last one and chance my arm. And thankfully I got in. And the other thing they did this year was they were very stringent on you were in your right wave. So they had the barricades narrowed down so that like when you were coming in through whatever road for the whatever start you were doing, they're like, let me see your bib, let me see what wave you are. And like I saw a couple people go, no, not you, you're not doing wave one, you're wave three, you're straight down that way. So whereas before it used to be a wide road and you just in the middle of a group and then you go, whereas this one, I'm sure people listening like, I got through. But it was definitely harder to get whatever wave you want, which is tough because I know people message us and we're like, my 3:30 pacer, like I'm in wave four. The 3:30 pacer is in, or the 4 hour pacer is in wave three, trying to get into the right pacer. And it's like, you didn't hear from us. Well, now you did now because it's on the podcast. It's like, you might get away with going into that wave, where you would have, like, we've done different waves before. We've jumped up to
Yeah.
wave two or wave one. We were down on wave three or wave four and gotten away with it. But this year, and look, with the crowds and all the rest, it's the right thing. Your wave is your wave, but yeah, it was a lot harder to get into that unless you're picked into a wave.
Yeah, and I suppose that when you're putting in your pacing or your goal pacing, that's where it's important when you're getting your ticket to, because the certain waves are done as per pacing grouping. So it's really important that you put, I suppose the other issue is there, wave one minority, wave two less of a, and as you get to three and four, it gets quite compact because everyone's
Mm.
goal is around that 330 to 430 element. That's the bulk of the group. When you look at the timings of the results that were coming in, you can see where the bulk, and even from crowd watching, you can see the bulk of people coming through in that 330 to 430 kind of section. But yeah, it's definitely something to consider when you do get that glorious text message in the next day or two, and you're like, I'm never doing a marathon again. And all of a sudden, €90 or €100 or whatever they're going to charge this year is disappeared from your bank account, and you're signed up for next year.
Yeah, it's happened to me. It's a narrow start, so you are a lot more congested because usually the road they start on is a lot wider. So I felt like it was just all packed in more, but it led to a great atmosphere. I thought anyway. Now it did take me 2.5 minutes to get from like 100 meters behind to eventually get to the gun to start. That's always the case. It takes a while. It is narrower, and then the other change near the start is when you come up the hill of Christchurch, it takes a right and heads down towards the Olympia and all the rest there. That's pretty cool because when they did that, you're like, oh, this feels like to me anyway, it felt like a real city marathon because of the higher buildings and all the rest. And I'm like, a lot more of this should be in the city now. They're trying to take it out of the city, the council, so that's never going to happen. But for those little bits of the run and running near Essex Street and all the rest, it was like, this is actually pretty cool start. And the crowds and stuff from there was the atmosphere this year. I know the rain and stuff was bad last year. I still thought the atmosphere was great. But this year, it was just so much better. I found it so much better. It was pretty cool.
And did you find in the first couple of K, because it was kind of more congested, as in you were funneled a little bit more, was there more room on the roads, did you notice or were people still jostling for position, or what way did you find?
For the
Because
first
obviously it's the
kilometer,
same. It's once you come out and you head up that hill at Christchurch, you're on the same roads you were on in the other marathons and the other starts. How did you find the road positioning and stuff with the new start?
I felt I was more blocked in. So for the first, I'd say I could be wrong on this, but I do remember like looking down the watch going, oh, geez, I'm doing a 6 minute kilometer pace. And I was aiming for 5 at that stage. So I did feel more blocked in only when you got to the Keys by Dublin City Council. And they had a lot more DJ stuff there, and they had a lot more Vodafone signs with like good luck texts and stuff and pictures thrown in, which is pretty cool throughout the course. But it seemed to have a lot more kind of atmosphere at different parts with more DJ sets and different things. By the time I got to the Keys, it all opened up, and it was just your typical Dublin Marathon from there. Because once you pass the council, it's pretty much the same route all the way through until the last 200-300 meters, where it diverts there. We'll get down to in a little bit.
It's funny you say that because looking at all our previous guest times and listeners to the podcast times, that first mile was everyone's slowest. And we were always telling people, take your time, don't get excited. But it seems like even if you
You no
wanted to, you
choice.
couldn't.
Yeah.
Which could be a blessing in disguise for many people, but also that's where the mind games of looking at the watch going, uh-oh, kilometer one, I'm at this pace already, but it's nice to understand that that's kind of a given now with this new routing.
Yeah, if you sit back, if you're in the race after the first kilometer and you realize you're going 30 seconds slower, that feels like an eternity. But that's less than a kilometer a second. Yeah, less than a second for each kilometer afterwards. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Have I said that right? So like you got
Yeah.
another 41K left and you're down 3 seconds. If you make up a single second on your time, you're 10 seconds under. I'm struggling with maths today, but I think I've got that right. So it's not a big deal, but it's easy to sit down here and think that's not a big deal. But if you're looking at the watch and not prepared for that, and you're like, oh, I'm 30 seconds down on where I should be, and it's only kilometer one, I've got a lot to make up on. And that's when you start racing, and then like you try and make that back over the next 2 kilometers, and then you're after running an extra 15 seconds per kilometer over race pace, and the heart rate's going up, and then you're going up through Stony Batter, and that's when you're in trouble already, and it's that early into the race. But
how was the race from that? Obviously, once you cross that bridge, then as you said, everything is familiar. Then you were starting to climb up into the park, and then the scarily long Chesterfield Avenue that doesn't feel that long when you're looking at it, but when you're running it, it seems to go on forever in the park, and still all the while climbing so gradually up until the top of Castleknock. How was that first water station? Usually around 5 kilometers, just in Stony Batter. How was that?
First water station, Stony Batter. So the first two water stations were bottles. Thank God. Not many bins around actually. Bottles. If I had a critique, it was just bottles chucked everywhere. So those are doing wave 3 or wave 4. That's one of the reasons I'd hated that, because there's bottles. Like even when I was going past, there was bottles and cups and stuff everywhere. So, but in fairness, there was a lot of people picking up at that stage, trying to make it as clear as you could. But it was good to get 2 water bottles. So I knew afterwards it was going to be cups. I also knew my pace was gone at that stage, so I was able to stop and stretch the legs and drink the cup properly from there. But the water bottles are there. Luke's station's not till mile 9 or something. Castleknock was great. Live
Always
band.
is.
Oh,
Always
yeah.
is.
Oh, really good this year. The band was like in the middle of Eye of the Tiger at that stage. So like literally in the chorus, like I couldn't have timed this any better. And then at the end, before you turn left at past Miles, it's like DJ sets kicking into something else there. Like that's always a highlight spot. Yeah, Phoenix Park was a long drag, but I felt good personally at that stage. I wasn't fit. Only other people like, geez, this is a mad uphill. And I was actually like, oh, I don't know, because we've done it so much that I was like, this is actually grand. Now, it wasn't grand later, but at the time, I was pretty comfortable. Conditions, man, were just perfect. Like those that were going for PBs and running that, you couldn't have asked for a better day. The sun wasn't out, which is a bonus. It was just overcast. The rain wasn't there. Small bit of drizzle at the start, and not too cold, not too warm. You weren't freezing at the starting line.
Wind either, really.
No wind, just beautiful conditions. The amount of people out, it never ceases to amaze me. And it just seemed a lot more this year. Like everywhere you went, there was people. Yeah, really, really cool atmosphere. Also, and I knew I'd forget, because when I was running Phoenix Park, I'm like, there's so many great signs. I'm going to forget all of them. There's one that I remember. Nothing to do with a marathon. It was just a big cardboard sign that just goes, "What do we think of Tottenham?" So football fans will love that. Everyone else took it going, that makes no sense. But it was like, go people, shit, what do you think of shit? Tottenham. And I was like, that's brilliant. That's just, I can guarantee there was no one else throughout the course of the marathon that had that sign there. Some of the other ones, I can't remember any of them right now, but that one I had to mention the podcast. I did get a good laugh out of that one.
Coming out of the park, Seán, you were on that familiar. It's a nice, actually, straight. I really enjoy that straight in towards Chapel Lizard. And as you turn left across the bridge, it's kind of like that false sense of security. As you turn left, you had the glint in your eye, because anyone around you not know what was about to come.
Have you got sore, aching muscles? Then you need to ask for the Ultra Pure Laboratories Muscle Recovery range in your local pharmacy or health store. Trusted by athletes and tried and tested by ourselves, this great value and guarantee Irish range includes Epsom salt gels with arnica, perfect if you have no time or access to a bath.
The Wintergreen Heat Rub Cream, ideal for targeted heat support.
You just need to be careful where you put it, Seán, not for the faint-hearted. And a favourite of ours, the Magnesium Oil Spray, brilliant for restless legs and muscle cramps.
Ice cold menthol gel with arnica, excellent for cooling and soothing tired feet and muscles.
And as we're talking to marathon runners and athletes, the relaxing essential oil muscle spray with 9 essential oils plus arnica, a gem of a product, and most importantly, vegan too.
For bumps and bruises, ask for Ultra Pure Arnica Cream. And last but not least, their magnesium-rich Epsom salts. We go through buckets of these. You just can't beat an Ultra Pure Epsom salts bath.
And it's the first wash you've had in years, Seán, bath or shower. So Ultra Pure, thanks so much for helping us out with that one. Ultra Pure Laboratories is an Irish-owned and award-winning family business based in County Mayo. Shop the Ultra Pure Muscle Recovery range in-store or online from pharmacies and health stores. Find out more at ultrapurelabs.ie. And by listening to this advert, you have helped this podcast and you are supporting Irish businesses. So let's get back to this week's episode of the Any Given Runday podcast.
I think so. I don't get every year when they're in the tunnel and they do the yogi. I'm like, keep
Save
your
your
breath. Save your breath, because you know what's coming. Rough hill. But we get to the top of it and you feel good. It's okay. So it's just past mile 10. If you feel rough at the top of that hill, that's a sign your race is about to you're hitting the hurt locker for a long time if you feel sore at the top of it. But personally, got top of it, felt good. Great crowds at the top of it as well. The one thing I noticed more about the course is that there's more and more people at the top of hills or really hard parts. I don't know if it's just people saying, we need you here to help us get to the top. Because there's always a few people at the top of that hill. But that one, there was so many at the top, and then further on towards the petrol station that it was like you felt that energy from crowds. You got the top, it's like, all right, I feel good. Let's keep going. And it does help. It helps big time.
I think the beauty about that is, like, if you commit to Castleknock or the Phoenix Park, you're kind of committing to two locations. You'll be in the Phoenix Park to see them pass, then you're going to be at Kilmainham Jail to see them pass, because it gives you a transition point.
Yeah.
I think if you're at the top of that hill, you've got a good chance to get across to Crumlin. I think people are starting to realize the best ways they can see their friends or their partners or loved ones doing a race, and then still give themselves enough time to get back in towards the finish line as well. But but more and more, everyone's, I think it's becoming the more famous hill of the marathon. Definitely the Chapel Lizard Hill is really a testament to how your day is going to go. It's
absolutely.
Because you've just climbed a really, I think once you climb up over that bridge by the Liffey, it's about 6-7 kilometers of climbing. And it's as gradual until you turn at Castleknock is a little bit more steep. But until you enter the park, you're pretty much climbing and then you're descending. So it's a good then kind of second test. So if you just got your second win, it's there to take it off. It's early. It is early in terms of a marathon.
Oh, absolutely. And this is the part where you get to Kilmainham. After that, places and names and the whole works are a struggle to UCD. You get to the halfway point and Dolphins
road.
Farm. Yeah, it's just road. And look, there's obviously loads of people that come out, and there's still a great buzz through people, but I get completely, like, it's the one thing, if I was to drive through it with no signs, I would go wrong here and there on, like, what's the next turn, where it is. From to Kilmainham, I know it's back of my hand. No matter, like, I go out on a bike and I definitely do it. But from there to UCD, I don't know if I definitely know the right turns and roads to take. It just seems all the one to me. Like, there is landmark spots, like I'm blanking here, the children. Maybe they're not landmark spots. I can't even think of Crumlin, the Children's Hospital stuff there. There's a few different spots there, Dolphins Barn and stuff, where I saw Niamh properly this year because I knew she was wearing the hat, so she had a water bottle and stuff for me. I was like, if I pass this again and I don't see it, I run by, I'm in trouble here. So thankfully got to see her, got me water and all I went. But I knew at that stage I was in trouble. I personally went for the 5-minute kilometer pace to start. I was like, look, just hang in there, see how long it lasts. And then if we hit the hurt locker, we hit the hurt locker. And sure, look, it is what it is. And then a little over halfway through, the right hamstring was like, here, do you remember me from a couple of weeks ago? And then a couple of kilometers down the line, the left one goes, sure, I'll join in now. And they just seized. Like, your friend sent me a video of me near the end. My hamstrings are not working. I don't know how I don't know how I'm physically able to run at that stage. Like, I know my running form gets bad, but I'm like a fucking penguin trying to run. Like, I'm so upright, my hips are tucked in, and it's just like that. That was me for the last 10, 12, 13K, if not more. And I hate to do shout outs here because I'm afraid I'll forget people. So I'm just going to say a lot of people are like, hey, Seán, great podcast. Are you okay though? I'm like, I'll get through. Just because you just see, like, I was a bad way. But it's like, and that's when I realized that it doesn't matter what distance or what pace you do for a marathon. A marathon is a marathon, and it always hurts. Like, my finish time, I got under 4 hours, but I still felt just as proud of the accomplishment crossing there as I did 2 years ago, doing 3.5. And except our first one, let's just not talk about our first one today. Yeah. But every other one that I've done crossing that finish line, you just feel like, you know what, I did that. I'm happy. I can take that. I'm very happy I do that. And everyone's just, as cheesy as it sounds, in it together. Because there's times where you just want to walk and someone nudged it. Come on, you're coming with me to the top of this hill. That happened with UCD flyover. Someone just nudged me. He's like, right, we're going up the hill. I'm like, I was going to walk this part. Right. And up we go. Yeah, Heartbreak Hill's not that bad because it gets narrow and the crowds and stuff. I know we're skipping 2 parts here, but Clonski.
Yeah. No, it's the one that no one talks about.
Yeah, and I don't think we meant, I think we glanced over the tips and I forget about it every year until I hit that point, and it is just horrific.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a false horizon as well. You think you're getting to the top of it, and then it just keeps going, and it is a long drag. And what I think, there is a great descent off it though. I mean, about a kilometer after it, down towards the N11, I think it is. But
oh yes. That, at the end of
it's,
Heartbreak Hill, taking the left, and there's great
yeah.
crowds on top of that. Like,
So if you can just survive the two of them, you know recovery is coming. And that's kind of one of the mental things about it. The year I ran, my favorite one was actually the one I didn't go for a PB and was pretty much on pace for the whole thing. And I just remember coming up that hill going, oh no. I forgot about it every time. And it's, yeah, it is. It's Heartbreak Hill is kind of over and done pretty quickly. You kind of just grin and bear it, shorten your stride. But the Clonskeagh, it's just so long.
yeah,
Just so long, but it is a good one. And like you say, once you come out that side, maybe more orientated to the north side of Phoenix Park, we know our way in and out of it. Once you come past the hospital, to me, it's just when's the finish line. That's pretty much it. And UCD happens somewhere along the way. But it's how was it actually? I know we're probably skipping towards the end. Was it when you're coming those phases of the race, I suppose, you kind of know every corner. You just know. Well, for me, as you were coming by the RDS and the old route in, it was kind of like the longest run ever, because every corner you think, is this the last corner? No. Is this the last corner? No. Is this the last corner? Oh, yeah, there's the finish line. What was it like with an unknown finish line?
So before I answer that, the biggest buzz from the crowd, and I've talked to this before in the podcast, but it was nothing like this time, is when you come down by the Mater Hospital, and there's like people in the Mater Hospital all out cheering and all the rest. When you take that left past Tesco's, there is an absolute roar. Like, so much so, like there was runners losing the will of themselves. They were just roaring with them, and people just like it was like a false finish line. Like, people were like, fucking let's go. Like, so much so I was like, I am not stopping from here. Like, it was such a roar. I was like, I am going all the way. I stopped a kilometer later. I think I stopped. But it was such a we are going to war kind of feeling. Like, it was oh man, the feeling I got making that turn. I lucky enough I knew people, had family there at that stage that were roaring me on and stuff as well. But that feeling was class. And then it's just everyone's in a hurt locker. No matter what you're doing, it's just pulling each other through. And some people are walking, some are jogging. I'm like a penguin, and you're just trying to push each other on. It's broken up a little bit more because they do have the big screen. You do before, it's just a long stretch, and it's just there's nothing there except crowds start coming up and up and up. That you had the big roar, small little lows, but for the most part still like just crowds and crowds. And I think it was the busiest I've ever seen it. And this is my sixth. You have the Irish Life thing around the 25 mile marker. And then like you are waiting for now is that turn. So before the turn, it feels like the finish line. It's the buzz is there. People are going nuts. The clappers are going off. And then you see people in front of you, which is weird because like you're in my way to the finish. And obviously they're not, because you make that turn. When you make that turn, the crowds are there, but the roar isn't there. It's almost because what happened is that I don't know if it's from there, because obviously I was running it. And I know from a certain point it's ticketed to get people. So it's almost like they're all focused and in silence and looking for their person to get through. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas that long stretch was like people are just roaring for everyone, just shouting your name, and just it's so cool that we got that stage.
The hooligans. Call them what they are.
Come on now. But when you make that turn, it's a mad silence. It's just like they're looking for the right person. It's kind of like right before a free kick, they're all anxious for you, that kind of thing. Now there is a bit of cheering, but it drops. And then you make another turn right. You have Neve told me it's some church that does gigs and stuff. It's a very trendy kind of location, whatever it is. If you're to drive through it now, it's like a left or a right around it. It just veers to the left.
In old money, I think it's called a salt and pepper canister, is what they used to call it.
That's what I've heard it being called. Yeah. So a little bit. There's still people cheering you on and stuff there. And then, like before we get to the actual finish, it's actually pretty quiet. I have
a video of you coming around. That's where they.
Yes, that's the video of me like a penguin. My hamstrings don't work anymore. And then we get to, it quietens down a bit to finish. Now, it's all blocked out anyway because you're on the carpet. You see the times and stuff, and you're just happy to be done. And it's a great cross the finish line. But the crowds are gone after that big turn. They're there, but they're not there because it's such a roar, and that roar is gone. I still wouldn't call it anticlimactic because you still like the feeling across the finish line just feels great. It's brilliant. But the races, the miles and the legs are not over at that stage. You are, oh my God. Now my directions are not great from this, but I think you're at one side of Marion Square at that stage or near it. But you are walking for what seems like a good kilometer plus. Like you get your medal, you're walking down, you're like, oh, at the end of Marion Square, you take a left. It's like, no, that's blocked off. You had to walk all the way down to Kildare Street before you take a left. You're coming around. We had to go around the Shelburne and pretty much come back down towards Toners to come in. And I had finished and I was barely moving, but it was all right. And we saw Seán from the Dean Hotel. I was talking to him. He's like, you look pretty fresh. And I stood for like a minute, and then the hamstrings just went and switched off, and I went down into a squat. It's like my hamstrings don't want to work anymore. I'm down here, pal. I'm just squatting there while I talk to him. The pain in my legs, like both of them were just shot at that stage. The calves were catching up on them too. Yeah, it's such a long walk at the end to get. And look, I'm not bitching because I don't know what side to control 20,000 people. I actually think it was around 18,000 in the end. Was it 17,500?
17,500, I think, was the final number.
And I think it was 20,000 that were signed up. So while 2.5 didn't make it, that's still an improvement on 4,000 from last year that didn't make it. So there something, maybe that transfer window worked for a bit and got a few people in. I don't know. I know a lot of people are selling tickets on Dundee and stuff this past week for it. And obviously injury, you're never going to have close to 100%. But New York, it's like 99% people do it. So we're still a good bit away from that, from the 90s percentage. But it was good that many did it. Just a long walk at the end. Medal's cool though. Spins.
Yeah.
Medal's cool. I actually haven't seen the running top. I've seen the running top. I didn't put the running top on. So I can't even comment on that. Like
that's because you were too busy sporting the new and improved T-shirt. Well, you're wearing 49ers now, you shite bag. But the new and improved Any Given Runday T-shirts. So this was the tried and tested occasion. Did people notice you?
Looking to recover faster, train harder, and perform better?
And then what?
Perform Nutrition is one of Ireland's leading sports nutrition brands with a number of great tasting protein powders, a range of vitamins, as well as other supplements such as creatine. All products are made in the GMP facility in the west of Ireland, and they have a range of batch tested and informed sports certified products. Perform is trusted by a number of Olympians, High Rocks champions such as Seán Noble, he was in the podcast.
Yeah, right, he was.
Also CrossFit Games athletes such as Emma McQuaid and many more. Perform's goal is to offer the highest quality, best tasting nutrition products for competitive prices. And now you can get an extra 25% off all products with the code AGR on their website, performnutrition.com.
25%? I'm typing it in now. And don't forget, we are supporting Irish companies. You are supporting this podcast by listening to this advert. So support Irish, get behind your podcast and get behind your local businesses. And until then, let's get back to the podcast.
Yes, and people can't tell the glow in your voice is because they were all Eric Lawless approved t-shirts. I got the t-shirts 2 weeks ago delivered in the mail. Like, well, this is from Eric. This is the Eric Lawless approved t-shirts. The big logo front and back. I'd say people miss me because they didn't see the usual red. Actually, I do have a bone to pick with you. I think I lost 10-15 minutes on that because they're not as aerodynamic because of the sleeves. The sleeves were very heavy of them. I'm used to wearing a tank top when running around the Phoenix Park and doing the marathon. Not as many people. No one commented on my arms this year, and I put it down to the t-shirt. No, t-shirt feels great. Yeah. No, t-shirt's good. All good with a t-shirt. No issues, obviously, with the clothing, but pretty cool.
Big shout out to all those who did recognize you and did give you a shout out. And hopefully they gave you abuse like I would. Otherwise, they're pathetic.
Few abuses, few Shawnees, few. No, it was good. It was good. I don't want to start the shout outs in case I forget everyone, but I did see Helen, who was on the podcast a couple weeks ago. Everyone passed me by near the end, and she was on the home stretch. I think she got a PB that day. yesterday.
Well, what we'll do is in my bored state, I was watching everyone, which was I actually probably worse. I probably should have went to the cinema and not watched any of you. It was still there. Yeah, it was great because I'm 4 hours ahead, so it wasn't like it was an early rise for me to keep track of the race. But we kind of do like a where are they now of the podcast guest. David McCarthy, who was on to give us those tips and tricks. He was with the lead female pacer. And he finished in 2 hours, 24 minutes, 17 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely phenomenal time, David. Congratulations on a great run. It was beautiful for me watching the race because I could just see David for the entire thing. So
And
it was
that's
great.
only a second marathon.
That's only a second.
And obviously he's an elite athlete though, but
Yeah,
still.
only a second marathon. Seán Canan, Health Matters, 3:43:42 was his time. We'll see what he does when he gets the text message from Dublin City Marathon. He swore he'd never do one again, but we'll see if the runner's high gets the better of him. Aaron Horan, you might remember him on from smashing ankles to smashing marathons. He did have that 3-hour goal. Unfortunately, didn't go well for him. 3:07:16, but still a phenomenal run.
Oh, in real time.
But I've no doubt from looking at the race times, something went awry on the day, and that is just racing, and it can be good, bad, and ugly and different. But phenomenal time, 3:07.
That's the thing with a marathon, though, isn't it? Like you could do all the training and stuff in the world, and I'm not saying this happened to Aaron, but just anything can and will happen on a race day, especially over that distance where it's there, it's not there, that the pacing feels just a little bit off from the start, or you feel really good and you push, or you're like, oh, I should have. You feel like you haven't the time to push later, and then all of a sudden, like nutrition or something the week leading up to it, or just something just doesn't click right. Now, I'm not saying any of that happened with Aaron, but on a race day with a marathon, anything can happen.
Yeah,
but I hope he's happy with it because he had a 3:30 last year, and that's still
it's 25 minutes, 25 minutes off his. And I've no doubt with the race experience, another race day, there'll be another day out. He should have done the Barcelona trip. He could renew himself.
It's such a tough course, Dublin, as well, though, to get 3 hours. It's such a tough course.
It is a tough one. Helen Plass, as you mentioned, Nurture Mama is 3:36:26, a PB for her. An excellent run, a great day out. By all accounts, she loved it, enjoyed every second of it. And a fabulous, fabulous run. Jennifer Fay from Sheriff Street Running Club. She went around in 3:58:24. Very special run. Jennifer lost her mom recently, and it was a very special run for her. So well done, Jennifer, and all those in Sheriff Street Running Club who were out in numbers to support. It was definitely seen on the day. So well done to all involved. Wayne Waldron, 2:29:13. Everyone remembers Wayne episode. Again, a sub 2:30 marathon. Phenomenal running. Absolutely excellent. Jer Redmond, 2:55:46, sub 3 hours for Jer. He went around representing Coolock Running Club. So all those who were out to support Jer and those from his running club doing the marathon and coached by him, big congratulations for all your hard work on the day. Caroline Hassett was doing her last long run before the New York Marathon. She went around in 2 hours, 50 minutes, 44 seconds.
Jeez.
A new PB for Caroline, which was absolutely phenomenal. I think she ended up finishing either 26th or 24th overall from the females.
Wow.
And when you look at last year, I think this is a sign that more women are getting involved and performing. I think she was 8th or 9th last year with a slower time. So it just shows the competitive nature and those getting involved. So yeah, if the rest of the girls wouldn't mind leaving Caroline finish first so we could have another podcast episode, that'd be much better. But a phenomenal run from Caroline, and she is going to do New York next week as well, so hopefully in good shape for that. Ian Fitzgerald, Inner City Running Club, 2:59:06, sub 3 hour for Ian as well. And again, well done to all those part of the running club who took part.
On Ian, I have to say, so the start of the race, when I got to the starting line, I look to the left. So Ian doesn't race it. He does it with Team Kobe. There's a few of them there, and they're pushing someone along. I wish I knew more of the story to talk about here. But when I started, I looked over and he was in one of the barricades. And I'm like, oh, I won't get to see Ian. Man, I saw Ian coming down Dublin City. I think it was near the Phoenix Park where I eventually saw Ian. And that's only like 4 or 5K. And there was like 3 or 4. There's 4 or 5 of them running. And the support in a City Dublin Running Club, like you just see the blue everywhere. I think it was them that had the big, massive, like 4-foot heads of different people just waving them at them. Like everywhere you went, there was just crowds and crowds. And obviously, a lot of running groups had a great turnout, and it's cool to see Cherry Orchard always, stuff like that. but inner city were just everywhere. Like from the get-go was just blue. I was like, my God, I don't know how many of them are here, but obviously they were in the inner city for the start of it, so they got far to travel. But still, the support and stuff there, and just seeing Ian and the guys just fly past me in the park. And I was actually running all right at that stage. But
they were clipping along at some pace, as you said, for charity part of team. It's a phenomenal pace to be running with someone as well. It's phenomenal. And for those who don't know, you can go back and listen to Ian's episode and hear more about it. Michael Fox, 2:21:36. So a big well done to Michael Fox, representing Armagh Athletics Club for the race. 13th place overall, 13th male finisher and 13th place overall. I think it's a PB for Michael.
He's the fastest man now ever out of Newry. I looked at the stories. So he was neck and neck. So he listened to the podcast. I think he almost got the time, then eventually beats time from his mentor. And then now I want to say 3-4 minutes faster. I think 2:24, 2:26 is in my head, one of those two. So he knocked at least 3 minutes off, and like he's constantly running and putting the effort and the volume, the mileage in. You always see in the stories, like, so I'm not surprised he's that fast now, but still 2:21 that's a phenomenal time. My God.
It's excellent. And those are pretty much the guests we have had who took part, or that we can see have took part between now. Extras, we have Conor Tiernan. I just want to give a shout out. He was my coach for the Ironman, although he doesn't want to admit it. I just proved it now. But Conor went in a 2:24:07, 17th place overall. Absolutely amazing run from Conor. The reason I say it, because when I was looking at Mr. McCarthy with the lead pacer, I was staring at Conor as well. So the two of them gave me great visuals for the day. So
were you watching it on YouTube?
Yeah, I was watching.
What was that like?
It was great. Do you know what? You're watching it with the lead pacers, and it was great because I knew two people on the screen with the female. And then watching the male race it's more frustrating because you're like, oh, they're just so fast. It was unrelatable. You just couldn't relate. When to the crowd, you're like, oh, do I see anyone? Do I see anyone? Do I see anyone? And that's all you're kind of hoping for. But it's just makes you miss it more, to be honest, because you're looking at every corner, you're tasting every step,
so well.
Every gel, it was really sad, actually. I think that makes me a loser. And then lastly, my cousin Francis Burke, big fan of the show. He was doing it for charity, raised over €1,500 for charity, 353.57 for him. And I just want to give him a shout out. He never misses an episode. He's coming with us to Barcelona as well, and he did a good run for charity. So there are, and I know because I send little flames and thumbs ups to people who I recognized on stories and their profiles as best as I could, to know that we were watching. Well, I was watching like a big loser. And we can't give everyone a shout out, but we know of the 5,500 people that downloaded our podcast this week, you all, I'm no doubt, had a Dublin Marathon experience you will or won't forget, or want to forget, or don't want to forget. Either way, it was that. You were all in it together. It was an experience. We just want to say a massive, massive well done. I'm very jealous because you're all sore today with a story to tell. I'm sitting on the couch in the same position I watched you all suffer yesterday. So it's a phenomenal, phenomenal experience. I've no doubt you will all sign up to it again next year. But a big, big well done. And hopefully we've kept you up to date with all those who have come onto the show and who have talked the talk and walked a walk.
Absolutely, Eric. I'm the lad. You got all the notes and stuff for this one. I've got nothing in front of me except just empty space in my head right now for this episode. So thank you for carrying this one. It is brilliant. The volunteers nod. They're going to Dublin. I've nothing bad to say about the race personally. It's just the atmosphere and getting to do that. It is a true highlight of the year that I always look forward to. And this year, it genuinely exceeded expectations. So even though I'm in pain right now, and cheap plug, I'm looking forward to my Epsom salt bath from Ultra Pure as soon as I finish wrapping up this episode and put it up online. It's just when that text comes in, it's not even a second doubt. I know next year coming and doing it, and the standard of people that we are seeing around us that are hitting the, obviously Mick Fox hit the 2:21, but guys hitting the 2.5. A lot of people, more and more people we know breaking sub 3. It just seems like those that are like, doing full-time jobs and different things, different stories we hear, and still getting those insane times. Like when I finished my race, I'm like, I personally, selfishly, I was like, oh, I need to make sure next year that this is on. Now, having said that, what is on for me is like, I knew halfway through, okay, I hit 145 something in the first half. I was like, realistically, I'm not doing a negative split in the marathon. I'm about to hit the real hurt locker. What I'm going to do? I went, right, let's just drop down to 520, do what I can, because I'm going to finish it. I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to get to toners and have a few drinks and meet a few people there. We saw that knew me from the podcast. It was great talking to them. But I also know that in around 20 weeks' time, I'm building up towards Barcelona Marathon and I'm setting a benchmark. Next year, I'd like Dublin to be the race of the year for me personally. But now it's like, let's not get injured. Let's just try and take it in and enjoy this pain, as horrible as that sounds. And then it's me, you, and around 30 odd listeners from the podcast doing Barcelona next year. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I suppose that's what we have to look forward to. The purpose of this episode is to let everyone recover, let everyone take stock of the moment and enjoy the feeling of telling everyone that you complete the marathon, because you are a legend. There's a lot of people in the office that will never do a marathon, or a lot of people at work that will never do it. So take stock of the moment. From this, we have more guests coming up. We have some fantastic guests still to come to close out the year with us. And you will start to hear more about our Barcelona Marathon trip and the training plans that are going to come with that for those who are taking part. And it's a good excuse for me to get to run with a lot of the listeners again, which is something I'm missing. Yeah, it's going to be a special time. It's a special race, Dublin. I've no doubt you will try and make it a better one next year. You say this every year, Seán. Next year. Next year.
I did this year. In theory, I'm 15 minutes faster this year than I was last year. So, that's progress. I think the small thing of doing like 100-mile races in May of like 6 months before Dublin, even though it's more mileage, it's not conclusive to doing a marathon, because I need a month to recover from them. I'm starting from scratch, building up again. But like David talking the podcast, like what's next for me? I've got a 5K race coming up in 3-4 weeks time. I'm like, let's try and just do, my longest run is going to be like less than 10 miles. And let's just try and, when the legs heal up after this week, I'm off on a flight in a couple of hours just to eat and drink everything for the next 3-4 days. But after that, it's like, let's just try and build on speed and then slowly build up. Of course, I've thrown in the Arthur Neal stuff in there as well. But then everything is kind of like, it's building really towards Barcelona and getting those times of 5 and 10K down and working my way right back up again. So hopefully, I'm not putting a time in Barcelona at the moment, but I will put a time in Barcelona. I want sub 3:30 from Barcelona. Get back towards that. That's I'm hungover. I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah. And my goal is to just sit on your heels for that entire 3:30 and pip you at the finish.
Yeah, you probably will not.
But it is a fantastic day. We hope as this is released, everyone is starting to recover. They have enjoyed the bank holiday weekend and have, for the most part, come through it with still ego probably bruised, some elated, but just take stock of it's 42 kilometers that happened. It's finished. You have a medal, and it's a lesson, and it's a great day out. And there is always next year, and there's always something to aim for. And for those who, like I have done for many years after the Dublin Marathon, that's the end of everything until March next year. You are very fit right now. For those who have crossed that finish line in any shape or form, you are fit. You have put your level of fitness to a certain level. Don't compare yourself to others, but in your own world, you are fit. Do take time to recover. Be smart with the likes of baths, with the likes of recovery gels, massages, whatever it is that's going on. But then think about training again, thinking about maintaining that fitness, thinking about, listen to some of our episodes where coaches say, now it's time to just go faster, but less distance, work on speed. And you'll find, having covered 42 kilometers, to go to a 5K now, it's not that daunting, because you've been gearing up to run 30 kilometers. Now it's just do a 5K, but do it a little bit faster. Yeah, it's going to hurt a little bit more, but it's now time to build on the foundations you've just done, and let's see what you can do next year, and keep those goals for yourself, keep those targets. Don't let it fall by the wayside and be January, February by the time you try and pick it up again, because you end up with those conversations of, how did I run 42 kilometers at this pace and I can barely run 2 kilometers? And it happens. So people can reach out to me in February when they're having that conversation, and I'll say, "Yep, been there." But our best advice is enjoy the moment, enjoy the little bit of recovery. Do recover. Recovery is a big part of the sport, especially when you're going so long. And then start making goals for March, April of next year, and then that'll set you up nicely for another Dublin attempt next year, and we'll begin to hype it up in the new cycle in the new year. It's scary, but it's getting towards the end of the year.
Absolutely. And on that note, thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Any Given Runday podcast with myself and Eric. Take care.